Hey everyone, welcome back to Game Brigade. My name is Bryan, and today we're going to be doing a episode of Back or Skip. This is the usually bi-weekly episode, but it's been a few weeks since we've done this episode because there was really nothing on crowdfunding. But we're finally hitting it up again. We're getting some more games on crowdfunding that we can talk about. They're kind of exciting. And here I am going to talk about some of the ones that I was most excited about, either prior to their launch or while they're in their campaign now. And I want to talk about them with you. Prior to doing that, I want to say some general upkeeping for the channel. I just released a short called "When You're Teaching Board Gamers a New Game," something akin to that kind of a title. I would love it if you guys checked it out. I had a lot of fun filming this short. It's only like 10 seconds long. Doesn't take long for you to check it out, but please do. It would mean a lot to me. So we are going to dive right into this video. So let's get to the first game. So the first one I'm going to be taking a look is Arboria, I believe. Arboria. And this is by designer Danny Garcia, and he is a relatively new designer, but he's got a lot of cool things coming out, and I hear a lot of buzz around him within this industry, so it's pretty cool. And this game was picked up by Alley Cat Games, and this is a worker placement game, very akin to people saying Botoku, which I've never played, but very similar in terms of the design. And I'm like, is it because it has a long board? I'm wondering, because I haven't played Botoku, so I'm not sure how the gameplay design plays. So I'm hoping people aren't just saying it because it's got a long board. But in this game, you're going to be placing your workers in these different locations. You have several different options that you can do. But generally, you're going to be collecting resources either for yourself or they'll go to a general market that people are going to take advantage of. It looks pretty cool. The game is pretty interesting. In fact, my wife wanted me to back this game, and I'm wondering if it was solely because of the art. She really liked the art design and the overall direction of this game, and I don't blame her. It's a cool looking game. Now, I am probably going to be skipping this game because it's not going to see play in my player group. But I want to make sure I preface that and say that I do think this game is worth checking out and picking up. If you have a player group who is into Euros, who also enjoys these very colorful, natural or nature designed games, I think this one is probably going to be a sleeper hit of the year. And if you're not in on this one, you might miss out on it. Now, I hate feeding into that FOMO, but it does look pretty cool. I love the components. Alley Cat Games has supplied some pretty good design games in terms of their component quality, so I'm pretty excited to see where this one will go. Again, I would love to play this, but I don't think it's going to be a fit for me and my player group, so we're going to be skipping this game for now, but I'd love to check it out. The next game we're going to be taking a look at is Whiz War. This is the 9th edition from Tom Jolly. Now, I own Whiz War 8th edition from Fantasy Flight Games, and the only reason I own it, I've still yet to play it, because when I bought it and you guys on the channel said, hey, that's a classic, don't get rid of it, you're going to have to play that sometime. Haven't played it yet. I still want to, but I hear a lot of good things. But effectively, Whiz War is a dueling game, battling game along a grid movement system that players are going to be battling with. This is the newest edition, and I got some questions. I'm not quite sure if I could recommend this. Now, Whiz War is a classic game, and I bet you this is probably a good game. I don't think it's a bad design, but the art is just awful. It just looks something like out of 1980, and maybe you might be into that, but this looks like out of 1980 without the good retro feels. So I have a hard time diving into it. There's also some Kickstarter red flags for me that I just don't like that are being published here by, I think it's Phil Jackson Games or Steve Jackson Games. Really, really having some red flags. The biggest one is having no independent reviewers. You got some of these snippets, but I don't even know, when did Lester Smith say this? This game's been out forever. I don't know. I don't even know who Lester Smith is. So I would love to have come here and seen some more independent videos from people who are within the industry that I know and trust, that I could see if this is going to be a good rendition. Now, in the updates, I believe they mentioned that this is not going to be compatible with Fantasy Flight. So that's interesting. I want to make sure you're aware. So if you have the original Fantasy Flight game, this is not going to be compatible with that. So you're not going to be able to get the expansions or anything. So they are very much separating themselves. So from everything I'm seeing here, from the cost of the game, from the shipping cost to international, I am going to say this is a skip. I'm just not sure I could jump into this and enjoy it, but that's okay. You know, I'd rather just get the old Whiz Wars 8th edition probably from now on. All right, so Among Cultists. Now, this is by Stefan Gadat. This is a hidden movement, social deduction. Not hidden movement, not really hidden movement. This is a social deduction, hidden role game. That's what I was trying to think of. Very much inspired by Among Us. And they don't even hide it. They even say in the Kickstarter video, there's cultists among us. Now, if you don't know what Among Us is, back in 2020, it was a viral hit on the video game market where players basically were put on a ship, and there are one or two, depending on how many players you have in the game, that are the bad guys that are trying to kill the other players. And what you basically do in that game is you run around the ship fulfilling different tasks. So everyone's doing their tasks, and once everyone's completed the tasks, you win. But in the meantime, the villain, I can't remember what their name is, I don't know why, goes around and kills a player. And if someone discovers that body, then they hit the button and they all try to vote a player out, very much like a werewolf or something of that mafia in that nature, where you're then voting out a player. So Among Us is Among Cultists is the board game adaptation of that. Take some of the influences from that. We're going to be going around this board, fulfilling different types of tasks and goals that your character needs to complete for the mission. And basically in this game, you're trying to stop cultists, I believe, from doing whatever cultists do when Cthulhu. Cultists are always trying to do something with Cthulhu coming, you know. That's basically the premise of this game. But you are going to also be interacting with other players. And so whenever two players interact, there's a chance that you could be killed by one of those players. And it's done secretly. And even if you are killed, you're not eliminated from the game. So let's talk about, what do I think? Would I be backing this? First off, the investigator pledge, $53. These prices, $99 for the all-in pledge, are a little high, because knowing me, I'd be wanting to get the expansion pack or whatever, but I just have a hard time justifying it. So for me, this is a game that I would love to play. I feel like this would be a cool game to play at like a convention or something, but I have a hard time backing it right now and saying, yes, this is something I want to put my money to and look forward to it. Mostly because it's kind of an interesting, different gameplay style. Now, some people might really enjoy that. Some people might be like, yes, I love innovative new gameplay designs, but this is like taking some pieces from a bunch of different designs and putting it together. And when I was watching some of the preview videos, I haven't watched any gameplay videos, I have to watch that next, it didn't seem like, I was curious how well everything kind of meshed together. And again, I have a hard time watching gameplay videos, so that's why I don't generally do it, because I have a hard time really in feeling like I'm learning more about the game. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the pacing and whatnot. So this is one that I'm just currently teetering on, and I'm most likely not going to be backing it. It looks good. I like the idea behind it, but I'm not sure it's going to be implemented at the level I want it to be, especially for a $99, $102 game. That's a pretty big investment for a game that's most likely might be like a party-ish game for my player group. So the final game we're going to be diving into is Marvel United. Look at that. The rating is actually not too bad on Board Game Geek. I'm wondering why normally they're so bad. But we'll be taking a look at Marvel United Multiverse. Now, I've done a video on Marvel United Multiverse, and if you want to see that, should you back, you can definitely check it out, basically discussing the value of the game. But I did it relatively around, I think, day 15, so it was really early. And there's been a lot of new updates here with Marvel United, plenty of expansions that are coming out that we've already kind of knew that were going to happen. But there's one that I specifically want to kind of point out, because I already thought Multiverse added a lot of cool features to the design of the Marvel United universe. I thought it was adding a lot of cool things with the different decks and the items. So I was like, okay, you know, this might have a thing. But they added another thing here that I thought was pretty cool, and that's the Civil War expansion. This is an expansion that's enabling a player versus player component, which I think is super cool, where you're going to have the option to have no villain. In fact, you're instead going to be fighting against another team of players, either 2 or 3 players. So you're going to have a 2v2 or 3v3. I think that's really cool, and I like that they are exploring alternative ways that we can really, play this game. The only thing I wasn't fully in love with it, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to find this relatively quickly. Probably might be higher. Was they were talking about it's based very, very it's just right here. Here it is. It's based very much into the realm of the universe of who was part of this battle. Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, like very, very much in that realm. So it made me wonder, based on what they're talking about with these different heroes here, are we only going to be allowed to use these heroes? Because obviously I get it because it's part of the universe, it's part of the lore. But I wish there would have been more opportunities to have every character be compatible in this mode. That might have been cool for me to see every single playable character integrated into the Civil War feature, because I want to take advantage of that player versus player aspect. But it seems to me you're only going to be able to use these pieces. Now, if you have the original games, because some of them say classic piece, I'm assuming that's from the original game. But yeah, so that's the only thing I was not sure if I was happy with. I wanted more. But as I said, I've already said I'm not backing this game. I mentioned that in the Should You Back, or not the Should You Back. I'm not backing Marvel United because it's too much product for me, and I already have a friend who's backing it in our player group, so there's no reason to have overlap. But I do think that the addition of that feature here, the Civil War expansion, really adds just another layer on top of a game that I already thought was adding pretty good options. And I think they needed to do something like this because Multiverse is probably going to be the hardest sell regarding all the other titles. They're also doing something I thought was pretty interesting, is they're adding the classic packs. Somewhere in here they have the classic promo bundles, so if you're looking to get some of the older stuff, you have that option in here as well, which I figured, and that's why I was going to recommend, if you're going to be backing this game, just do $1, that way you can get into the PM and you can really kind of flesh out what you're looking for. What does the shipping look like if I add this promo and this core set? What does everything kind of shape out to look like? So that's my recommendation if you're going to be backing this one. If I was more in love with the system, because remember, that was my biggest issue with the Should You Back when I did the video. The system still is a little too light for me to be fully in love with it. But if I was a little bit more in love with the system and all the new features I'm seeing in here, I would definitely be backing this game. But right now I'm going to be skipping it. So that is going to be the end of the video. We just had a bunch of skips, unfortunately. This was a pretty rough week for us. Overall, is there anything I missed? Is there any games I should have covered? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts overall. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for checking out the video. I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.